G'day all, and welcome back to a video. So I'm going to do a series of videos purely on the generation of our electricity here in Australia, well on the east coast anyway, on our national energy market. And I'm going to use the two diagrams to show what's going on. So I'm going to use the dispatch overview and the generation fuel mix to see what's going on. So it's currently the middle of July at the moment. It's 7 o'clock in the morning. Now, it's only just cracking daylight here at the moment, so I'm not expecting solar to be on board or anything like that. But 7:10, where we're sitting at the moment, we're um, pretty high prices. Well, I don't know if that's a high price, but I suppose we're going to find out. I'm going to do this probably once a month for 12 months, and I'm going to just do it throughout the day. It'll only be a snapshot. It's not going to be anything massively superior. Uh, so at the moment we've got demand versus generation in Queensland. The generation's higher than the demand, so they're sending electricity to New South Wales. So that's flowing well according to these. When they go orange, it means they've either reached their capacity of flow or there's something blocking it. It's interrupting the flow over here. Like now, that could be because New South Wales start cracking up their generation, and the flow doesn't need to go as far in. So New South Wales are still generating slightly less than what they demand, so that's why the flow is there. Now, interesting enough, at the same time yesterday, well, it was 9 o'clock yesterday, Victoria were also sending energy to New South Wales. Now, as you see there, they've just gone orange. So it'll be interesting to see if these numbers start reducing, because as I said, when it goes orange, it means the flow has been interrupted. Now, that could be because the wind's picked up in South Australia, and it's just blocking the flow, or they're at their capacity at the moment. So Victoria's receiving a little bit of energy from New South Wales and a bit of energy from Tasmania, and they're also passing on to South Australia. So it'll be interesting to note the prices and see how they change during the period of the day as well. And Queensland is 73, New South Wales 81, Victoria 82, South Australia 92, and Tasmania 76. Um, it's interesting because I did a little video explaining this yesterday, and it's interesting to see the price differences at 9 o'clock. So I'll come back at 9 o'clock and do this again, and I might even splice in a couple of photos from the 9 o'clock that I did. So that's the way the electricity is flowing at the moment. Generation's greater than demand in most places. But at 7 o'clock in the morning, let's see what's being generated across the country. Notice that there is battery being discharged at the moment. Yesterday there was no battery discharge, and the prices were actually cheaper. So we'll endeavour to look at that. I'll come back at 9 o'clock because I know I did a brief video yesterday at 9 o'clock, and that can only be a reference point of today, I suppose. So once again, July, 7:10. The fuel mix at the moment is, so we've got 6% battery, 0.4% biomass, 42% black coal, 17% brown coal, nearly 3% gas, 10% hydro, no liquid fuel. I don't know what they class as liquid fuels. Diesel maybe. 0.2% solar, which is understandable because there's no sun outside at the moment, and 19% wind. So there's your uptake at the moment, and we can go and have a look at state by state while we're here. So we'll start in Queensland. We'll go from north to south. Queensland's mix at the moment is generally 71% black coal. They're discharging batteries, and they've got a little bit of wind at 16% there. So that's Queensland at the moment. Come down to New South Wales, and they've got a similar picture. A little bit of battery, biomass. They're at 68% black coal, and they're discharging a bit of hydro. Not much, 10% hydro and close to 10% wind. Coming down to Victoria, and we're discharging 10% battery, 58% brown coal, no gas, a little bit of hydro, and 27% wind. So it's windy somewhere in Victoria at the moment. We'll go to South Australia. South Australia at the moment, it was wind. It's nearly 70% wind. Now, yesterday in the morning it was windy too, but it was interesting to see that during the day it actually dropped wind and the solar picked up. So we'll see how that travels throughout the day. They're also on the gas and a 2% battery. Down in Tasmania, this is pretty much the same as yesterday. So Tasmania are pretty consistent because they've got good hydro. I think they had about the same yesterday, and 10% and 10%. So today it's 7%, 11%, and 80%. So that equals out to there. So Tasmania are pretty stable. So I'll come back to, I'll have another crack at about 9 o'clock and see what happens from there. And we'll continue on with the video at 9 o'clock. It's now just gone 9 o'clock. So we're looking at the 9:05 increment here. And it's interesting to see how things have changed. So the prices have definitely come down. Queensland's was 73, New South Wales was 81, Victoria 73, South Australia was 92, and Tasmania was 76. The flow hasn't changed very much. Queensland is still sending to New South Wales, and New South Wales is still sending to Victoria. And interestingly, Victoria is sending a lot to South Australia. Tasmania is sending a lot to Victoria. I suppose this is because we're all sending power to South Australia, the renewable capital of the country. Having a look at the dashboard now. Why is that not on fuel mix? So the dashboard, 9 o'clock, things are starting to wake up. We've got 20%, 18% wind, 20% solar, 7% hydro, 2% gas, 17% brown coal, 32% black coal. Biomass is slightly down. And interesting enough, the battery discharge is going down. So is that the reason why the prices dropped? Because the battery discharges almost finished for the night. If we get along to our individual states again, starting with Queensland, their solar's waking up and their wind is there as well, still heavily reliant on black coal. New South Wales, solar's good, wind's down, still heavily reliant on the coal. Down in Victoria, our brown coal cranking out. The wind's good in Victoria. Solar's not so great. I mean, it is sunny where I am at the moment, so it's obviously not sunny across the rest of the state. There's our breakdown. South Australia, interesting enough, South Australia is our renewable state, so they've got no fossil fuels except gas, and they're cranking out 28% gas. Still got a fair bit of wind in South Australia. Their solar is not cracking along, and they're still dispensing batteries. And they actually have the highest electricity in the country at the moment. Tasmania, no changes there. The wind may have picked up a little bit, and the gas has picked up a little bit because they've slowed down the hydro, or that's the demand on the hydro is not as much. So that's where we're sitting at 9 o'clock. Next, I'll probably just wait till lunchtime, 12 o'clock, and do another video then. An additional video then. Okay, so now we're back here at lunchtime. It's 12 o'clock. Prices are sort of stabilised. So Queensland at 9 was 43. New South Wales was 70. Victoria was 73. South Australia was 84, and Tasmania 66. Earlier on, now Victoria is sending power to New South Wales, so their demand's pretty high. Queensland is still by far the cheapest, so what I've done in my research is that's because of their rooftop solar, which isn't actually calculated in the generation cost. It's more of a decrease in demand. So the less the demand, and you're still generating, so decrease in demand as opposed to a generation. And you can't determine completely what rooftop solar is, because that'd be like having millions of little power stations that needed to be monitored. So that throws things out a little bit. But at the moment, Tasmania is still sending power to Victoria. Victoria is still sending power across to South Australia. Still heaps of power to South Australia. And Queensland's slowing down the power they're sending to New South Wales. If we get onto the generation, you'll see what's changed so much. So there's now a lot of solar in the mix, 27% solar, 13% wind. The coal usage has come down, but it's also noticed that the batteries are almost non-existent. So I'm wondering if that's a huge factor of the price of electricity. I guess we'll see later on tonight as we continue on with this little sample. So again, generation, Queensland solar's on board. Wind is not really much, still heavily reliant on coal. New South Wales, similar picture, except they've got less wind. So that's where their shortfall's obviously coming. They haven't got the wind. Victoria is 68% coal, so we're relying a lot on our coal today, as our wind and solar is minimal. South Australia, now even though South Australia are using 41% wind and 29% solar and 30% gas, I've realised that their generation capacity as compared to their demand is not great. So it'll probably improve during the summer months. But yeah, anyway, Tasmania is still the same, 80% hydro, and the rest is out there. So that's the NEM. I've also been looking at prices and renewable penetration. So in the renewable penetration, below is a figure of the maximum renewable penetration rate ever recorded. So if we click down here, this is the breakdown of it, and see there you've got your distributed photovoltaic at 51%. So that's your rooftop solar, which is never on those charts. So compared to this, that's a big chunk of it. So that actually says something. And the maximum renewable penetration over time. This is over, I think it's 2018 to May 2026. The renewables are starting to get up there. That's where you get your 76% from. Yeah, so that's where we're currently sitting at the moment. And I'll pop back mid-afternoon, probably 3 o'clock, and we'll have another look at then. And then probably 7 o'clock tonight, and then I might do another one at 9 o'clock as we're starting to discharge batteries. Possibly won't be able to do a midnight one as I've got to work tomorrow, but I can do one at 3 a.m. in the morning because that's when I get up for work. So yeah, the next cab off the rank is 3 o'clock this afternoon. So I just did a whole video. So now it's 3:15. I just did it at 3 o'clock, but I lost the file, so I'll do it again. It's amazing how much this moves during the day. If you're not watching it, you don't really understand. But that was just an hour ago, stupidly priced. It was $20-$30 more than Victoria. But now it's sort of balanced down, and yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. I'll see if we can work something out. But Tasmania's Queensland's still the cheapest, followed by Tassie, New South Wales, Victoria's creeping up there, and South Australia. Interesting. I've got to start taking note of demand because the demand can be a factor. I mean, if the demand drops because rooftop solar kicks in, that can have a big effect. And also, at this time of the year, the trajectory of the sun, the angle of it. Like my solar probably stopped producing at lunchtime today. Uh, we've got north-facing panels on a 30-degree or 45-degree roof. It's a pretty steep roof, facing north, and then the other half of them are on a flat roof, which once the sun moves around behind the trees, it's casting a shadow straight over them. So I'll be getting no solar at the moment. That's obviously what's happening here, but yeah, we need to concentrate on demand to see why this is moving. But Queensland's still sending power to New South Wales now. Whether that's some of it's being used and some of it's being sent on to Victoria, because Victoria is generating more than its demand, but sending a lot to South Australia, who's just not generating anywhere near their demand. Tasmania is still sending power through to Victoria, and yeah, so let's have a look at the fuel mix, and still highly reliant on coal and that. Coal. Solar's picking up, but that's maybe have to do with trajectory as well in winter, and the wind is below 10%. So let's go state by state and have a look. So Queensland still predominantly coal, a little bit of renewables, a little bit of wind and solar. New South Wales, well, the winds dropped right off in New South Wales, and now and they're getting along with solar. A tiny amount of gas, can't even see what, it's not even 1%, and the rest is still black coal. Victoria, well, the renewables have sort of flatlined in Victoria. There's not a great deal of renewables being generated at the moment, 13 and 12%. And yeah, so 75% coal. Over to South Australia, they're cracking up the gas. They're cranking up the gas. So they're so proud of their renewables that they have to use a fossil fuel. Um, their solar's at 36%. Now that bar looks big, but they don't have much capacity. And same's the wind. So they're obviously producing nowhere near enough as much as their nameplate capacity during the winter. Um, so yeah, we'll go down to Tassie. Tassie is just consistent. 76. The wind slowly picking up a little bit, knocking out a bit of gas. So Tasmania's consistent as always, 70 to 80% of their power. And I've got no fear that Tasmania could still run 100% on hydro if they wanted to, but no, they've decided they wanted to go into this stuff as well. So that's our 3 o'clock update, and I reckon the next one will be at 7 o'clock tonight. Hopefully, it should be close to being dark. It should be dark by then, so it'll give us a good insight into what our demand is when everyone's starting to get home from work and finishing school for the day and getting home and starting to cook dinner and turn heaters on and stuff. And then hopefully another one at 9 o'clock. Just a quick one. I hope to jump in at 5:30 and look at the price differences at 5:30. This is insane. And it's again demand 106, 121 New South Wales. All roads are leading to South Australia, 138, 104 out of Tasmania. That's just insane. Look at the and as you can see, the biggest difference is batteries have come online, and that is just insane. Have to catch up with that a bit more closely about when they kick in and see if prices really kick over. But I thought I'd quickly jump in and show that. New South Wales are discharging batteries. Queensland's discharging batteries. Victoria. South Australia's running purely on gas and battery at the moment, really. Tassie stays the same, yet their power prices they sell for insane. Okay, back at 7. So it's 7 o'clock, and this is where we're at. Um, Demand's high in New South Wales. We're still feeding from Queensland to New South Wales. We're now feeding from Victoria to New South Wales because their demand's so high and their generation is low. South Australia are still, they've just been sucking juice all day from everywhere. And Tasmania have really joined the party now. So probably peak demand times at, just trying to work out. power prices, and yeah, that's where we're at the moment. So maxing out in South Australia, their demand's way more than they can produce. Victoria's producing more than it can demand. South Australia's producing more than its demand. So everywhere except New South Wales and South Australia. So the fuel by mix might answer a few questions. 10% battery. It's got to be a factor in the high prices. Black coal and brown coal. Brown coal's down a bit. Black coal's been consistent all day. We're out of solar, obviously, because it's dark. And there's 10% wind across the whole country. But the nearly 3,000 megawatts of batteries has got to be a factor. It's got to be a factor in the high prices. We start up in Queensland, and of course solar's out. Not much wind. Black coal's the winner. Batteries 10%. New South Wales has got the highest demand, but they haven't got the supply. 75% black coal, 10% battery, bugger all anything else. Victoria, 54% coal. We're using a bit of hydro, 15% hydro, 17% wind, no solar, and 7% battery. South Australia, sucking juice from everywhere else, and 80% gas, 11% battery. So they're using the most expensive generation and deliverance types, and obviously that's why they're $15 more than anyone else. Can be the only thing. Um, Tasmania will probably be their standard self. Yep, Tasmania hasn't moved all day. It'd be interesting to see when they get out of the wind doldrums and this gets up. That'll go to zero. This might come down a bit. So that's the 7 o'clock reading. So see if I can do one at 9 p.m. and if not, it'll be 3 a.m. in the morning. So that's that snapshot done. Okay, here we are at 9 o'clock. This will be the last one tonight. Not going to make midnight, obviously. So it's 9 o'clock. What are you doing? 9 o'clock. Queensland still the cheapest. Their generation outweighs their demand. New South Wales still got high demand. Queensland and Victoria are sending power to New South Wales. Victoria, well, I shouldn't say it's actually Victoria, but the power is going through Victoria to South Australia. So, well, it must be Victoria sending power to South Australia because we're also sending power, so the flow of direction is that way. Tasmania is sending power to Victoria. Victoria is sending power to New South Wales and South Australia. The price is insane in South Australia at the moment. It's either maxed out. I mean, it's got to be maxed out, the connector, because I know that connector, the Murray connector versus the main connector, I know that's definitely, like, that's 330 and that's 500 or something like that kV. Volts, whatever it is, kilovolts. So, let's have a look at the. So we've got a good scope of what's going on there with that now. And Let's go have a quick squiz at the generation now that it's dark and later at night. And everyone's sitting down for the evening. So on the national market, we're not using a lot of battery, biomass. We're using a fair bit of coal and black coal and gas and hydro. And it's windy somewhere because across the market there's 17% wind. So let's see who's doing what. So it looks like it's a bit of wind in Queensland. 14 of the no, it doesn't work that way. So got a little bit of wind in Queensland, and the black hole is cranked up. New South Wales is running basically purely off coal at the moment, and getting imported from everywhere else. So I'm just wondering if they can actually meet their generation demand with their coal now that they've taken so many coal offline. Yeah, so keep coming down south to Victoria. And we've got a little bit of wind in Victoria, not a great deal. Hydro's flowing, bit of gas, whole lot of brown coal. Not much batteries. And I'm wondering if South Australia cranking out the gas. Not much wind, not much battery. So does that balance out their power bills? They pay for expensive power now and cheaper power in the summer months when they've got more solar online. Maybe some more wind. Tasmania, consistent. Just consistent. Tasmania hasn't changed all day. They've got to be one of the most stablest and consistent places in the country. And all they're using is hydro, gas, and wind. Be nice if Australia had a lot of water. So yeah, that's the national energy market at the moment for the fuel mix. Can't remember what the prices were before, but have they come down a little bit? I'll have to wait till I watch this back so I can scroll backwards and forwards to see the differences in the price. But I'm just trying to work out why the prices are so high now. Is it the demand? But why the price is so high now? Right, we'll be using coal fuel mix. I mean, the graphs weren't much different from 7 o'clock this morning, I'd say. So why is it high? It's pretty much just maybe there's a little bit more gas, definitely less coal, brown coal, black coal, and probably maybe close to the same amount of wind. It has to be the battery discharge. Like, it has to be. Oh well, that's it for now. I'll do the last one at 3 a.m. or 3:30 because I'll get up at 3, so I'll make me coffee and get dressed, and then I'll fire the computer up while it's loading up. So it might be about 3:30 in the morning that I get onto this, and that'll be the last one for today. So good morning, all. It's 3 o'clock in the morning, or 3:20 actually. And here we can see the movement. So the power's dropped down. New South Wales demand's dropped by about 3,000 kilowatts, whatever it is, megawatts. Um, so everyone's demand's below. Oh no, New South Wales still not generating as much as their demand. South Australia's still not generating as much as their. South Australia are bums. They're just dragging their feet. They're riding off the backs of everyone else. Maybe we should connect them to Western Australia and our power prices come down even further. Just jokes, South Australians. You know the banter. But anyway, I mean, New South Wales is almost as expensive as South Australia at the moment, but we're still sending heaps across. As he's still sending it to us here. Well, I say us because I'm here in Victoria. Um, I'm currently having a coffee, so that's why my voice is a bit croaky. So yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting to see how the power moves and the wholesale price getting shunted around. You'd think, yeah, you'd think the pricing would be pretty consistent, wouldn't it? Um, I mean, it is a national energy market, so yeah. We'll get on to the fuel mix. Let's see what's cracking at the moment. Right, so as you can see, there's some wind in the system, but still heavily reliant on coal. Still heavily reliant on brown coal and black coal. There's zero 0.4 biomass. I wonder where that is. Might have to look into our biomass industry. 3% gas, 8% hydro. I thought hydro was supposed to be dispatched at absolute times of need, because it's water. You didn't think it'd need to be dispatched overnight. But noticeably, there's no battery, and that is a common theme throughout the day. That when the batteries are not discharging, the power prices are relatively lower. So let's have a look at state by state as we do. And Queensland's got some wind, predominantly black coal. New South Wales have got not much wind, predominantly black coal. Victoria have only running coal, some wind, and a little bit of hydro. And I mean, considering you're using 73% brown coal, that is actually not a lot of wind. South Australia, oh well, they're cranking out the wind, but still using a lot of gas. So wind and gas, and they're on par with New South Wales, who are just black coal, price-wise. So predominantly like 85% black coal and 10% wind are on par as the same price as 41% gas and 58% wind. And I mean, well, yeah, I'm going to look into that a bit further because I don't want to give an unbiased opinion right here at the moment. Tasmania, rock solid as always. So that's it for July edition, unless I can catch up with this diagram at 7 o'clock this morning. But I will be at work, and we are busy until late. Like we are flat out until 8:30. So maybe I can visit it at 8:30 on my smoko break or something. Um, but yeah, that's just an interesting snapshot. And like I said, I'm going to do these every month for 12 months. I'll endeavour to do the next one on a weekend where I can hit that midnight one as well. Although I do enjoy sleeping, so if I don't get the 7 o'clock this morning one to make it the full 24 hours, I'll catch you all on the next video. Bye for now.
Yeah, so here we are at 7:15 in the morning. I could only take a few photos, so we've got Queensland still sending power to New South Wales. Then we've got Victoria, who's sending power to Queensland and South Australia. Um, so, yeah, that's what's happening there. And all, of course, we've also got Tasmania sending power up to Victoria. So the only thing that's changed really is everyone's still sending power to South Australia, but Tasmania are now, Victoria are now sending power to New South Wales. So here we are again with our generation chart. Um, Not much has changed. We've got high prices, and a lot of it seems to be from batteries. There's not much bio. There's 44% black coal, 17% brown. You know, that all solar's not really in the mix at 7 o'clock in the morning, and wind is winding somewhere. But it's these batteries that make it interesting for the overall price. Um, we'll have a look at the next one, which will be Queensland. So we're looking at Queensland in the morning. Um, there's still predominantly black coal, a little bit of discharge on the batteries. So yeah, that might throw out the pricing a little bit. There's still a bit of wind around, not much solar. Um, yeah, so make of that of what you will. 7 o'clock in the morning. I can't remember what happened because I just took photos of it. So that's what it is in Queensland. We'll move on to New South Wales now. So we're looking at New South Wales, and interestingly enough, Victoria is sending power to New South Wales, even though New South Wales are discharging their battery. They're on 74% black coal, 2% gas, and bugger all everything else. So yeah, we'll move on to Victoria. So down in my hometown now, and we're looking at a 7% battery draw, 58% brown coal. Oh, there's 17% hydro going on, 13% wind, no solar. So, um, Yeah, that's what's going on in Victoria. It's just interesting to note the batteries. So this is what's going on in South Australia at the moment. It's 22% batteries, 61% gas, and 27% wind. So our greenest state is using the most fossil fuels almost with gas. I know all their other coal-fired power stations are offline and stuff like that, but don't forget Victoria's exporting fuel to them. This is purely their own generation. So make of that what you will. We'll move on to Tasmania. Tasmania's pretty stable. Let's get on to Tasmania. So it's amazing to see that Tasmania is still relatively stable. 85% hydro, 5% wind, 12% gas. It's amazing that the hydro stays pretty stable and it fluctuates between renewables and gas to make up the shortfall. So yeah, basically that's all there is for this, and I'll post it up and we'll see how it comes out in the wash. See you all in the next video.